name is Isla, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to get over your cravings. If you're trying to lose weight, but you feel like cravings are really getting in the way of you being able to stay in a calorie deficit, I got you. I'm going to tell you some tips that I see help the most with clients. I am a registered dietitian who has a weight loss program called the 3-Month Lifestyle Reset, and my whole entire company is called the Millennial Nutritionist. We specialize in healthy weight loss practices for the normal millennial person who is going out to eat, who wants to continue to be social, live their life, drink alcohol, have fun every now and then, but also wants to have weight loss. So I'm going to help you learn how to kind of navigate these cravings in your everyday life and some practical tips to kind of get over them. Okay, so cutting to the chase, my number one tip is to eat more of the right food. So this might seem counterintuitive, but I honestly think the biggest reason that clients have cravings, and I honestly just had a client session today with somebody who said this, is because they weren't eating enough at every meal and eating enough of the right things. So a couple of reasons this matters is in our program, we really push produce and protein. Eating more protein helps you to feel fuller for lots of different reasons, and we have so much content on protein. And then also eating produce is super important because it also helps you to feel full on a low amount of calories. These two together, I think, are the most powerful foods you can eat for weight loss. We want to make sure you fill up on them. It'll actually make you feel full and satiated if you get enough at each meal. When you don't eat enough at each meal, let's say you're like aiming for like 300 calories per meal, or you skip a whole meal in and of itself, you do get hungry. That's normal. Your body wants you to eat. You need food and calories to stay alive. And so a function of your body to help you with that is to get hungry. So when you get hungry, your body's trying to help you out because it doesn't know why you've skipped a meal. It thinks like maybe you're starving in the middle of the desert. Maybe you need a push to get some higher calorie food. So it does this really cool thing and actually makes you crave high calorie foods because it knows that you can eat more calories or get more calories in with fat and with tons and tons of carbs and things like that. So your body's programmed to do this. So in order to override that programming, you just need to make sure you stay on top of your hunger so that it never kind of gets to the point where your body is like causing you to constantly like think about pizza and stuff like that. When my clients eat enough food throughout the day, honestly, like 90% of my clients feel like they have no more cravings when they simply just eat enough at each mealtime. One mistake I see with this too is that a lot of times people think they're eating enough when they're really not. I actually had a whole conversation with somebody this weekend about how they need to make sure they're eating enough protein to kind of get over cravings, and they thought that they were because they don't know the exact amount that they should be eating. So of course, work with a registered dietitian to learn what that amount is for you. But I will just say that I think the vast majority of people actually aren't eating enough protein when it comes to weight loss, whether it's like maybe they're skipping a meal. So they are eating like a pretty good amount of protein per meal, but they're only getting like 2 meals in, so it doesn't really count. Or they're only doing like eggs or only doing like 1 protein shake, which honestly still isn't really enough protein at each meal. I rarely have clients who are eating like way too much protein, and I'm like, whoa, you need to calm down with this. Because when we lose weight, we want to feel full, we want to preserve our lean muscle mass, we're in a calorie deficit, which is why we can have a little bit more protein compared to when you're just wanting to maintain your weight. I'm going to plug our free calorie tracking tutorial so you can start to kind of track the amount of protein you're eating and really be aware. I find that people think that they're doing a lot better than they actually are. And so when I have clients track and we go over their tracking together, they see like, oh my gosh, I really didn't realize I was eating so much this week, out this much, or I really didn't realize I was having that many alcohol calories and stuff like that. So just track for yourself, and I kind of talk to you in this tutorial about what you can kind of look for as well when you're tracking. My second tip is to exercise more. So this really helps with cravings. And honestly, I just have anecdotal evidence from clients and even myself, because when you are just doing more things throughout the day, you really just don't have time to eat or think about food. If you're somebody that like craves food at the end of the day, or you like it when you relax, or you're like bored or anxious in the home, and then you just end up like raiding your pantry, trying to just like busy yourself will obviously make you think less about food if you're not around it constantly. I actually had a client once who said this, and she said that she would eat a lot of snacks at the end of the day to kind of like decompress. And she didn't think these snacks were high calorie because they were small, but they were things like crackers and cheese and like really high calorie buttery popcorn, all things that were pretty compact but high calorie. And so then when she started tracking, she had no idea that she was eating this many calories at the end of the day. One of the steps of the program that I work on with clients is to increase exercise. Nothing super crazy, but I find that most people who need to lose weight just aren't exercising enough, especially that steady state cardio. So once we have them start walking, typically they have to put in like an hour of walking during the day at some point if they're super sedentary. This can be a big chunk out of your evening. And walking can be relaxing if you are listening to nice music, if you're talking to a friend, if you are just like enjoying nature around you, if it's nice out. So this in and of itself can help you to de-stress, which can help you not to emotionally eat, but also just take up time in the day. If you're just getting done with work and then you're sitting on the couch the whole rest of the day, of course you have like so much time to like prepare foods and think about food and go out to eat with food and like raid your fridge and snack on high calorie stuff. Or if you're out and about walking and exercising, you just simply don't have as much time to eat. Another reason I find that exercise really helps with cravings and being in a calorie deficit overall is because whenever I have clients who say that they start exercising, they feel better about themselves and they feel like they don't want to ruin that better feeling. And they also feel like one healthy habit leads to the next, as opposed to when they don't exercise, they feel like they're already not doing very well and then everything crumbles, which isn't a great mindset to have. But hey, if exercising does help you to feel healthier and you don't want to ruin that and it causes you to just eat better overall, then go for it. I think this is especially true for me. Like on a day where I already am not like exercising that day, I sometimes am like, okay, like what's the point? I already feel bad about myself. Let's just go ahead and eat a bunch of cookies. I try really hard not to, and I don't recommend doing that. But of course, even just like doing something super easy, like going on a walk with a friend, or even just like going to the gym and like stretching, I feel a little healthier, and then I'm less likely to continue to self-sabotage through overeating. So a specific tip for getting in more exercise, I would say just start really small and start with like a 20-minute walk. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. And if you even struggle getting to this point because you don't like walking, try to make it enjoyable, like meeting a friend. That's one of my favorite things to do is like instead of a friend going like for a coffee, like we're meeting them for a walk instead, and the time flies by. Also, you could like listen to a favorite podcast. You could listen to an audiobook. I love the new trend going around where people are like listening to self-help books while they walk and doing like a little 2-for-1 self-care combo. You could also call a parent. I also preserve like my weekly call with my mom to be while walking, so that it's another reason, because like what else am I going to do while I talk to her besides probably just sit on the couch? I can easily go for a walk. And the other thing is, anytime you are on TikTok or on Instagram or something like that and just scrolling, go on a walk while you do that. Head to the gym and just scroll at the gym. If I'm super unmotivated, this is something that helps me to be like a lot of times when I'm unmotivated, I go to TikTok or Reels or watch a YouTube video, and I'm like, I could easily be doing this while I'm walking, and I probably wouldn't even notice. To be honest, I find that scrolling on TikTok really speeds up the time when I am walking, and I can't even really notice I'm doing it. So you can take my pro tip and do that. The third tip is going to be to take care of your mental health. So I said about 90% of my clients who end up just like eating more stable meals throughout the day, decrease their cravings. For those 10%, I find that it's because they don't get over cravings. I find it's because it's like super tied to their emotions or how they feel about food, because it's like only like a specific time of the year they can get that food or something like that, or even like a lot of that with like anxiety eating. And a lot of this just goes back to trying to get good mental health care, because even if you're super full and you're eating often to the point past fullness because of snacking, it could be that there's some sort of psychological component that nutrition just really isn't going to be able to help you with. We can for sure help with like providing higher volume snacks for low amount of calories, or making sure you feel full, making sure that you are eating foods that not only make you feel full in that moment, but finding macros that help you to feel full all day long. But if all of that is already worked through and you're still having cravings, a lot of it comes down to breaking down how you cope with stressful situations, how you view food and stuff like that. It's fine to cope with food sometimes. It just doesn't need to be like your everyday thing. I think like sometimes it's totally appropriate to emotionally, like if it's somebody's birthday and you want birthday cake, that's a great time to celebrate food in that way. Or if it's like one specific holiday on that meal, then yeah, go for it if it's like a cultural thing. But it doesn't mean we need to be doing this every single day. Instead, focus on other coping mechanisms, whether it's journaling, whether it is trying to go for a walk for some people, whether it is just like relaxing and taking like half the day off and just watching TV until you feel better. But of course, like consult a mental health professional as well. When you address underlying psych problems, eating just gets easier, and even how you feel about yourself gets easier. I do find that clients who have a better self-portrayal or body image, or just feel better about themselves overall, tend to do better, because when you feel better, you're less likely to be hard on yourself, which means you're less likely to give up. And in order to lose weight, you've really got to be positive, because it's a long journey to do it the healthy way. And so in order to kind of get there, We love it when clients are already established with a therapist or would recommend them work with a therapist so that they can work on that aspect so we can just work on the nutrition end of things. When you address all these psychological components, being in a calorie deficit just makes it so much easier to not have weird needs for food because of untreated anxiety or depression or stress or stuff like that. When you don't address these psychological needs, you can end up being more hungry. And I have a client story. So one time I was working with a client who she worked with me for a while and still had cravings. And one thing that she always said was like, oh, it's like this special time of the year and they only have this one thing in the store and I had to eat it all and I have to eat it all week. Or like, I was doing so good and then at the end of the day I had a bad day. So then I just like ate a bunch of Cheez-Its. Or, oh my gosh, I was doing good, but like then I like went out to eat all weekend and just had like tons of pizza and stuff like that. Which we can still have those foods, but when they become to the point where they're bringing you out of your calorie deficit, that's not going to help with weight loss, and it actually just isn't very good for a long-term habit. So we worked together for a while, and we did pretty good with like setting her up to be as full as possible within a calorie deficit so that she wasn't actually hungry. But in the end, I did just recommend that she work with a therapist. She reported back to me that in the beginning that, you know, she was bummed that just my help alone can help her get over the cravings, but she still practiced everything that we did, and that in combination with working with a therapist on her coping mechanisms around stress and around sadness, instead of just like coping with getting all this happiness from food, she was able to work on the root of it, process through it, and then just like have better coping mechanisms overall that are outside of food, helped her to eventually be able to lose weight and not have the cravings anymore. So a practical tip for this, of course, would be to work with a therapist, but also I think something that I work with on clients is to start tracking how they feel when they have cravings. So if they feel like they are, every time a craving comes on, they're also stressed, then we can kind of know that that's actually not hunger. That is really just like a psychological response. Or sometimes clients say like every time they get home from work, that's when they crave like milk and cookies just to like kind of debrief after the end of the day. Or it's when they're around people, that's when they feel like they want to eat more if they're at like a function because they feel really awkward. If there's a common theme between what actually causes the trigger and it's not, or causes the craving, and it's not because you are hungry or you haven't eaten enough, it's likely emotional eating. And that's something that you can either, once you figure it out, sometimes clients are able to be like, okay, well now that I know that, I know what to do about it. But then if you can't, then you can kind of take that to a therapist. But that's the first way you can start to understand if it is something that needs to be worked on with a therapist or a dietitian. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it really helped you with your cravings. Please subscribe to our channel. We produce videos every Wednesday and Friday. Our Wednesday video is actually our podcast episode video. We always have like a really fun guest and talk about specific things when it comes to nutrition and weight loss. And Fridays are our kind of YouTube specific videos. So please let me know below if you have any other questions or any specific struggles when it comes to cravings, because I know almost everybody has them, and there's a lot when it comes to it on what I can kind of recommend for it. This is my quick and dirty top 3 over my biggest top 3 tips, but subscribe and let me know if you have any other questions or want me to make any other videos about it. Bye.